Hello, dear students. My name is Ruchi Sanger, and this lesson is for Class 11 English Core from the NCERT textbook Hornbill. This is part 2 of Chapter 7 titled The Adventure by Jayant Narlikar. The objectives of this audio lesson are to enable you all to recapitulate a broad outline of part 1, that is the story before the excerpt that is included, to interpret the events in the story and summarize them, to assess and evaluate outcomes of actions and events, and to outline information about the author. Betaji, the audio lesson part 1 presented details of the story that wasn't all there in your textbook. I've talked about this reality in 1986. The setting was Our World 1986, where Professor Gayathonde from Pune was thinking about his 999th seminar on catastrophe theory with his friend Dr. Rajendra Deshpande. But he was excited about his 1000th seminar, which was on the Third Battle of Panipat. Now, as he was thinking about this particular topic of the Third Battle of Panipat, he absent-mindedly, while walking, stepped away from the sidewalk and onto the Bombay-Pune highway. And bang, he got hit by a truck. It is at this point that the reality of this world shifts to another world. The time is the same, it's 1986. Okay, and he was found right there at the highway, but not in this universe. He was found in a parallel universe where he was taken to an hospital in Pune in a parallel universe where the doctor told him, while they were having a discussion, that the Marathas had won the Third Battle of Panipat. The Marathas had won? This completely confused the professor. What was going on, he wondered. He was advised to board the train back to Bombay from Pune. So he boarded the Jijamata Express. This is the point where I last told you that your chapter begins. He's in an alternate universe. He's not in our reality. He's in 1986, but he is moving from Pune to Bombay, where he hopes to find out what had really happened to the history. Let's summarize the events that take place after Professor G boards the Jijamata Express. While he was in the train, Professor G planned to go to the big library in Bombay and look through the history books to figure out what events exactly had led to the victory of the Marathas. He also decided to discuss these events with Dr. Rajendra, but he was unsure, naturally, he was unsure if he even existed in this parallel world. Nevertheless, when they reached the Sarhad station, Professor G was surprised to see a uniformed Anglo-Indian checking the travel permits. A discussion with Khan Sahib, who was a co-passenger, helped him notice that they were near the British Raj border, and that there were British flags on the train carriages, and also that the Bombay train station was titled East India House instead of the familiar Bombay Victoria terminus. You see, Professor G had anticipated many surprises in this alternate parallel universe, but East India Company? Hadn't it wrapped up its operations in 1857? Yet, look at that. Here it was, thriving. He had to find out what happened. As he walked down familiar roads, he noticed unfamiliar shops and office buildings. He reached the Forbes building naturally to ask for his son Vinay Gayathonde. The receptionist politely informed him that nobody named Vinay Gayathonde worked there or at any other Forbes branch. Dun-dun-dun. Professor Gayathonde made his way to the town hall library and asked for a list of history books, even the ones he himself had written. It was when he reached the 5th volume that he spotted the turn of events in history. The effect was, number one, Marathas won and Abdali's forces were routed back to Kabul. Number two, East India Company suspended its expansion and had reduced operations in small areas of Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. Number three, Marathas gained supremacy over North India, and Vishwas Rao and his brother established Maratha influence all over India. Number four, the Marathas kept the Mughal regime alive in Delhi as mere puppets. Number five, the Marathas promoted science and technology with the help of experts from the British and evolved into the 20th century. Number six, after the Peshwas, democratically elected bodies became the norm, as was the case in the western part of the world. The Shahanshah of Delhi, however, continued as the figurehead. Professor G's investigations had been fruitful, but he still wanted to know what was it that actually happened to make the Marathas win the battle. So he went through various other texts and he came across a bhakar. A bhakar, Betaji, is a form of historical narrative written in Marathi prose. These bhakars chronicle important deeds of the Marathas as per their viewpoint. While the bhakars are considered valuable historical resources, it is believed by some that they often magnify or falsify facts here and there to suit the ones in power. Professor G knew this. Obviously, he was a historian, he knew. But he also knew that he could get that little bit of information that he wanted from the bhakar. This one that he was reading was called the Bhausahebanchi Bhakar. He was right. There were lines indicating how Vishwas Rao had managed to survive. Deep in thought, Professor G shoved his notes while hurried by the librarian, and because in that hurry he was absent-minded, he shoved the bhakar in his pocket as well. Later, he set out for a stroll in the Azad Maidan and noticed that a lecture was in progress. As force of habit would make him do, he climbed up on stage towards the presidential chair and faced with a lot of objection. Not only that, there were tomatoes and eggs and other objects thrown at him, and the audience moved towards him to shove him off the stage, forcibly eject him. When Professor G looked around, he was at the Azad Maidan roadside, but this time he was back in his own reality. 1986, Azad Maidan, yes, but not in the parallel universe, in his own reality. Dr. Deshpande couldn't help but believe Professor G because a page from the bhakar was still with him. Dr. Rajendra tried to reason all this out. He said, number one, Professor G was thinking about the catastrophe theory and its role in the Third Battle of Panipat when the collision happened. So he made the transition to a similar but alternate universe. His neurons acted as a trigger. He also stressed that just as an electron's movement is unpredictable, similarly, knowing a normal world varies. There is no commonly accepted truth. So Professor G's reality, Betaji, was normal, and so were his 2 days in the parallel world. Professor G accepted Dr. Rajendra's rationale and stated that he had completed his 1000th address at Azad Maidan and vowed never to preside over another meeting, thereby choosing to decline presiding over the Battle of Panipat seminar. Guess he had just about enough. So dear children, I sincerely hope you were able to draw out understanding from this audio lesson. You might want to read up about Jayant Narlikar. He's an acclaimed Padma Vibhushan Indian astrophysicist, and he writes in Marathi, Hindi and English. Till then, stay safe, stay well, good day.